Hello, everyone, and welcome to the overview of the University Studies for Student Veterans Facilitator Engagement. Now, my goal here in the overview is to just give you a better sense of how this engagement is organized, how it's structured day to day, week to week, a better sense of the sort of architecture of the engagement, and also a better sense of how we'll all be proceeding sort of concretely together through this blended learning experience. Now, first, let me just say a quick word about this term blended learning experience, because it's not a term that everyone will be immediately familiar with. When I talk about a blended learning experience in the context of this facilitator engagement and sort of in the context of online learning more broadly, I mean simply that we'll all be learning through several different mediums during the coming weeks. So that means that you'll be engaging with the online course, University Studies for Student Veterans. I suspect many of you have already been doing that. You'll be listening to pre-recorded audio material from me, just as you're doing right now. You'll be reading a few brief articles, watching a few short videos. You'll be interacting with each other, I hope, a lot through the online discussion forums, and you'll be interacting with me and with each other through scheduled live video conferences. So when I call this facilitator engagement a blended learning experience, all I really mean is that we've tried to build a learning experience here that takes advantage of multiple kinds of interaction in a thoughtful and intentional way. Now, the facilitator engagement is a 4.5 week curriculum that's designed to help participants, all of us, develop tangible plans of action, what we're going to call engagement plans, for addressing issues that we all face on our campuses when it comes to serving our student veterans and military connected students. So, the idea that animates this whole experience is this. We hope that every participant, so each of you, will come to this facilitator engagement with a problem that you'd like to solve, or an issue that you'd like to think through, or a challenge that you're hoping to address, or something you're hoping to do or achieve in your work with the military connected students on your campus. So, for some of you, maybe you've been wanting to develop a veteran only orientation, and that's the sort of thing you want to achieve or the challenge that you've come up against. For others of you, you may be, uh, trying to work out a plan to better support student veterans who are experiencing academic distress or who are or on academic probation. Or for still others of you, maybe the thing you're hoping to achieve is to provide better continuing education for your staff, who are getting questions from student veterans about how to build academic skills. All of these kinds of things are the kinds of things we're imagining people will bring to the table as the sort of thing they hope to achieve or the challenge that they hope to address. And we hope that this problem or issue or challenge or aspiration that you have will serve as a kind of companion text for you throughout the engagement, because then over the course of the 4 week engagement, we're going to introduce you to some tools and some resources that we've built in the University Studies for Student Veterans curriculum that might be useful to you in some way as you think about your challenge, or as you come up with a plan to achieve the thing you want to achieve. And the goal is that each of you will, by the final week, be able to propose an engagement plan for how you're going to attempt to tackle the challenge or achieve the goal that you brought with you to the course. How are you going to do that thing in a concrete way with some of the things you've learned here and some of the things you've learned from each other? And in the final week of the course, and this I'm really excited about, we'll all showcase our engagement plans to one another. We're essentially gonna share our work with each other, and show each other how we plan to go back to our campuses and achieve the various goals that we've brought with us. How are we going to go back and make an impact? Now, in terms of time commitment, I've designed the facilitator engagement such that it shouldn't really require more than approximately 2 to 3 hours of your time per week over the 4.5 weeks. Now, I know what you're saying. RJ, where on God's green earth am I supposed to find 2 to 3 hours a week? And I get that. Trust me. I know that everyone's plate is insanely full, and so this engagement can be kind of pared down if you need to pare it down a little bit. so you can get something out of it even if you can't, devote this level of time. But in my ideal world, it's about 2 to 3 hours per week. The first 1 to 2 hours consists of engagement with assigned materials that will prepare you for the week's video conference, and that stuff can be completed at your leisure or as time and schedules allow. And in the final hour, that's either hour 2 or hour 3, depending on how you're scheduling it, is devoted to the video conference itself. Uh, and this means a total time commitment of roughly 8 to 12 hours, give or take, from start to finish for the entire engagement. So again, I know that we're all insanely busy in our respective roles, and I know that spare time is is a fiction for most of us. And so I worked hard to make sure that this exercise wouldn't put too much strain on already strained schedules. Now, if you wish to devote more time to the engagement, or if you want to dive a little deeper into a particular topic because it's of particular interest or of particular use to you, then by all means, you're very welcome to do that, of course. But I know that time is a precious commodity, and so I just want you to know that I've tried to be as respectful of it as possible in my curriculum design. Finally, a word about week-to-week organization. As I've said, this engagement is a 4.5 week exercise. That first half, what I'm calling a half week, is devoted to the introduction and the overview of the course and sort of introducing ourselves in the discussion board. So that's what we're doing now, followed by the 4 weeks of curriculum. At the start of each week, you'll be greeted by a brief podcast from me orienting you to the week's topic and activities. This podcast will be sent directly to you, just as this one was, and will also be available to you on the University Studies for Student Veterans course website. Because when you join this facilitator engagement, we granted all of you an additional level or additional layer of sight in the tool so that you will be able to see these podcast materials sitting directly next to the existing online course. Now, these podcasts should hopefully create some pedagogical rhythm for the engagement, and my hope is that they'll be helpful to you as you attempt to participate in this exercise while you're also juggling your other professional and personal responsibilities. So my hope is that this overview has been helpful to give you a better sense of how we're going to proceed in more concrete terms. Anyone who has any questions or concerns, you're all more than welcome to reach out to me to address those directly.